What's up, guys? Nethervvoid here with more World of Tanks tank guides for you, or strategy series, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't really care either way, to be honest. What you're looking at here is the AT-2. It's a Tier 5 British TD. Pretty awesome tank. I actually like playing this tank. There are not a lot of Tier 5s that I actually enjoy, but this is one of them. Let me make sure it's a Tier. Let me make sure it's a Tier 5. Yeah, you didn't think you'd ever hear me say that, did you? So right off the bat, the reason I love this tank is because it actually has armor that actually works in the game. It's one of the few tanks where the armor is actually noticeable. Thank you, all you high pen, high tier high pen guns and gold rounds. But this thing is actually pretty awesome, and you can take a lot of shots. It's really known for its armor, and it's really hard to hit this thing, even if you're same tier, Tier 5 or so. Tier 5's hard time. Tier 4's really hard time. Tier 6's might be having an easier time. And then Tier 7's generally, well, again, you're pretty much all going to be shooting in the same spot, and I'll tell you why in a second here. But the way I play this tank, since it is amazingly slow, is that, like a lot of other tanks, mainly slow heavies, I always say, you know, as quick as you can, figure out which direction on the map you want to go, because you need to go there like non-stop. Also, you need to watch the mini-map a lot, because if you need to change direction or go back to base or whatever it is, you need to do it now, not later, because again, this tank is extremely slow. One of the other things that goes hand in hand with that, and if you've seen the AMX40 video, I've already said this, pretty much if you're not firing, you should be moving toward the engagement where you can fire. This is not like a lot of similar tier TDs. This TD does not want to hang back and hide. That's generally not how I play it. I generally play it up in people's faces where I can keep my gun unloading on people. You can sit back and snipe if you have some spotters up ahead, way up in the front. But remember, here's the problem. Let's say, and we're looking at the gun statistics right here, but let's say you have some spotters up there and you're way back in the back, and those spotters die. Now it's going to take you 900 years to get to the action. So again, I don't feel like it's a good idea to hang way back. I play this thing mid-range or closer, generally just because I don't want to have to rely on spotters to make sure I can shoot. So you can see 1.7 aim time, pretty good. 0.37 accuracy, average, I would say. Not bad, but not good. Again, pretty average. The crew is going to make this not as great either, but you know, I'm running up to in the almost 80s now, and 80%, and it's pretty good for now. This gun is pretty awesome. Another thing to know, this gun fires so fast to actually get your damage per second. That's what I call it. It's an industry term that's been around forever. I'm not changing it to damage per minute. I'm just eccentric like that. But anyway, to keep your DPS up, you need to keep this thing unloading. It has a very fast reload rate, and so that means you can't just take a shot, damage somebody, and then you have 30 seconds to move around and maneuver and all that. You need to get on target, start unloading on somebody. If they're dead, be able to switch to another target almost immediately and start unloading on them, because that's the whole point of a TD. The whole point of the TD is to do damage, right? That is the point of a TD. So you want to get in there and get as much damage as you can. So that's why you need to stay up with the battle and make sure you can get shots on people and don't fall too far behind. You're going to see a game where I do fall behind. It's not an amazing game or anything, but it could have been a lot better game if I was not so far behind. I think it was still good positioning for this match, but you can see where the slowness of this tank really caused me to underperform toward the end of the match. So I'll show you that game coming up in a little bit. So that's generally how I play this tank. Obviously hide, don't just sit right out in the open. RD is going to be probably your worst nemesis, because an HE shell coming right through the top here going to ruin your day and knock your tracks off. I show you a video where that happens as well, a game I'm going to show you. So just make sure that you stay behind cover as much as possible. If you're being spotted and you're really wide out in the open, back up and go forward and stuff. Don't give RD an easy time. It's going to be hard when you're loading on people, but try it. So that's pretty much how to play this tank. Let's look at some stats here. 450 hit points, fairly standard. It's nothing new there. 41 tons, pushed by almost 400 engine horsepower. That's like an 8 to 9 power to weight ratio. That's why this thing is so slow. 20 mile an hour speed limit. Yeah, I guess on the flat you'll probably get 16 or so. So that's about right. 20 traverse, so this thing has a really hard time turning. That's why you also, one thing I didn't mention is keep your targets at range. What you want to do is get up in the action, but that's it. Never any closer than just enough to be in the action, because what people are going to do is they're gonna try to get you to push up, right? You're gonna be pushing up on them, and then they're gonna push right up on the side of you like this, and boom, you're not gonna be able to get any shots on them, and they've got you for lunch pretty much. So don't do that. Make sure that you're very careful with how close you engage people, because they will try to flank you. If you are getting flanked and you're near a building, try to get your ass to the building, okay? And then, like, say they're right here. If you start turning on the building, it'll actually scrape them off. And I wish I could show that to you. I'm going to have to do a video on that, but how to scrape people off when you're in a TD. But I cannot show you that. I don't have a replay of it. But that's kind of how you get out of it. Try to back up into a solid object and then scrape them off the side of you like you would scrape off, like, peanut butter off bread or something like that. So we've already gone over that. 203 hull armor. I'm going to tell you the weak points on this. I usually don't do that unless it's tier 7 and above or tier 8 and above. But this tank does require the talk about the weak points. 200, you're pretty much going to get 200 millimeters too. 100 on the sides. It's still even tough to pen on the sides. And it looks like you've got some spaced armor right here. I have not confirmed that, but I think that is spaced armor covering the tracks there, and then you have hull armor here. So I think this is all spaced armor, which even makes it more difficult to pen. Just go for the side of the turret and that hatch right there. 100 on the back as well. It's still even hard to pin this thing in the back. I actually have not looked at the image for the rear armor. Let's see if I can get something for that really fast here. Okay, yeah, anything in the back right here, if you're seeing my cursor in the main body, just go for it. You're going to have no problems. It's like 50 millimeters or something like that. The turret is 100. Usually people shoot the back of the turret. Well, it's not really a turret, but the head, whatever this is not where it's soft. It's 100 millimeters still, so it's not really soft. It's soft here in the body. So that's where you're going to want to hit it. Rate of fire, again, very high. We'll talk about that later. Gun traverse speed, doesn't really matter. The range of motion on the gun is all right. I didn't notice any real issues anyway. Let's look at that again. I think it will tell us the range. It does not. I know there's a way to figure that out, but I cannot think of it off the top of my head. So, 310 view range, pretty normal. Maybe a little low even. 550 meter signal on your radio, decent. All right, it's not going to win any medals. It's not going to set any records. Really, 700 is what you're looking at to cover pretty much anything on the map. But 550 is all right. I never really had a problem with it. So let's start talking about modules now that we've talked about stats. So here we've got that radio. I think you're already going to have this radio because what's below this? Electo, I thought. Yeah, Electo. Let's just look at what the Electo has here, right? So Electo. I don't see it. So you won't have this gun. Or, I'm sorry, this radio. I had it because I already went up the heavy line, so I already had this radio, but you will not have it. If you've gone up the medium line, you'll have this radio. So this will be a new radio for you if you've never done this line. Let's look at this medium one here. Electo. Yes, you will have this medium one. Yo, you know why I don't have that? Because even on the Electo, I already had this radio. Or, I'm sorry, I must have sold this radio or something. I started with this 400 meter, and I just bought the 550 because I already had an extra one, or it was unlocked either. But you'll have this 450, so that's not that bad really. 450 is still decent. You get problems when you're getting like below 400 range really. Even 400 is all right. Now, part of the reason it does have such a massive radio, in my opinion, is probably because it's really hard once you're far back in the map to catch back up to the group. So you're going to need that larger radio. Tracks, a little bit of an upgrade here. Modules are too heavy, so I'm going to try to mount the lowest gun and see if we can do the tracks at that point. Still, modules are too heavy. I bet you that's the camo net. Let's try it. Yep, it's this camo net. So I'm going to demount that. I put a camo net in all my TDs, especially at low tier. So yeah, we're going to put the low tracks on. Oh, you can do everything. You just can't put the camo net on. So tracks, a little bit, well, really that's like it's a 5% bump up, right? No, it's 10%. 10% bump up in turn rate, turn speed, degrees per second. That's pretty decent, but it's not that big of a deal. The radio improvement or the engine upgrade, 50 hit points. I always say that. 50 horsepower, pretty decent upgrade there. It's really nice to get. It's a 340. It's really slow. You're gonna feel it. When I had it, I felt it. It was very, very slow at that point, especially without the tracks either. It's just going to feel like it doesn't move at all. The big thing, though, is with the gun, you're already going to start out with something that feels decent. You only get 5 more pen on the gun, so you already have a pretty awesome gun. Aldeus and I were talking about this howitzer a little bit ago. Not that great. It really does not reload very quickly. You're going to see the DPS on this gun is ridiculous. And when you're in Tier 5 games most of the time, you're shooting at Tier 4s and Tier 5s, no problem. Tier 6, hit the weak points, you're still going to pen with 105 or 110. It's not that big a deal. If you're going up against Tier 7s, you probably will have to flank to get shots off and kill guys with it. But it's really not that bad. This, on the other hand, it's a good gun, but the reload rate's just not high enough. I really like this machine gun style gun, the 6-pounder here. So that's what my advice there on the gun. So now that we've talked about modules, let's talk about the tech tree and see how you're going to unlock those modules. So here's the tech tree of the AT-2. It's a pretty simple tech tree. You're not going to really have anything other than this radio unlocked. You will also have the howitzer if you prefer that gun. So I think the first thing you're going to want to do is unlock the engine and put that sucker on. It's going to increase your mobility quite a bit. You already have the 105 pen gun with an insane rate of fire, so you really don't need to grind the guns right away. I'd probably go after the radio first. Then I would probably go after the radio because the radio is going to allow you to spot more guys or radio back to position on people, get damage while other people are spotting, all that kind of stuff. It's going to increase your XP and credits a little bit. The tracks are probably next on the list, so you can throw the camo net on, or if you like camo nets, get that before the radio. The radio is quite a grind. And then after that, I get the top gun, and then I go straight for the AT-8. That's pretty much this whole tech tree. So we're back from research, and I actually didn't talk about the weak spots in this tank, so let's do that right now. Pretty much like all British tanks that are lower tier, there's a real weak spot right around this gun. It's 100 millimeters there. 100 millimeters on the cupola. That's why you'll bounce. I bounce a lot shooting at this thing. And then these little slots right here, 100 millimeters as well. Everything else is pretty much 200 millimeters. Even this hatch here, which I thought would be a weak spot, it's not. It's 200 millimeters as well. So no luck there. On the side, I don't have any information on the side of the tank, but I would imagine this is a weak spot right there in the hatch. Obviously, the cupola is still going to be 100 if you want to shoot there. I wouldn't shoot the tracks right here because I kind of think this is spaced armor, and then you got the hull, and that's 100, so I don't think that's a good spot to shoot. And then in the back, you don't want to shoot anything up here. Just shoot for this 50 millimeter lower hull right here, which is really where you want to shoot in the back. So those are the weak spots. Let's talk about equipment. I don't put on equipment on anything Tier 6 or below. Tier 7, I start throwing equipment on because I'll actually have the tank for a while. So, like any tank, I would put vent, I'd put the rammer. Even though this thing shoots ridiculously fast, it will shoot even faster with the rammer. It's not as noticeable with this tank, and technically you probably could switch it out with something else and not even know the difference. Like, I would probably put a laying drive on there. That'd be another good option. I definitely would put a camo net, and then I'd put a laying drive or a binocs. So vents for sure, because that improves everything on your tank, all your guys' skills. And then I usually would put a camo net. At the lower tiers, you get some pretty good camo ratings on tanks. And then people's view ranges are pretty bad. People's crews are pretty bad, so camo nets really help a lot. And then for the third, put a laying drive, binocs, or a rammer. Just kind of up to you, really. The binocs will help for when you're way back and you're just not up to the fight. At least you can spot people out and hopefully kill them, like if you lose your spotters or something. So anyway, that's the equipment. Consumables. Let's look at rounds first. 6 HE. The rest AP is fine. I only use HE when I want to reset the cap, and sometimes this will not reset the cap if you can't get any damage on their weak spots with the HE. But that's why I have them loaded. And again, the rest AP, which is fine. It's pretty much on all tanks. So tiers 5 and 6, I will throw a small repair kit on. It's becoming worthwhile, in my opinion, to keep your tank in the game. You can pretty much make up the cost of this by staying in the game sometimes, especially if it's early on, or if you get hit, you get tracked by Artie or something like that. 5 and 6, I just put a repair kit. 7 and above, I put a full rack, fire extinguisher repair kit and this small heal kit. So that's what I would do. Now the crew is going to look like this. It's probably going to start at 50%, at least mine do. I usually don't spend to get the crew to 75% until I get to tier 7, just because I don't spend that much time in the tank. Like, I'm not going to spend on this tank. It's almost unlocked, and in fact it might already be. No, I've got about 10,000 more to go. These guys will probably be in the 85 to 90% at that point, probably 85. So I don't think it's worth it to spend 80,000 to keep these guys at just only lose 10%, which still puts them at like 75%. So it doesn't seem that great to me. I will start doing it at tier 7 because I always get my guys to 100% before I move to tier 7, so it's good to preserve that. But anyway, that's pretty much the crew. Let's get this thing in a couple games and show you what I'm talking about. So this first replay I'm going to show you is actually from 8.8. That's why you see mods loaded in. I know Blackshot just said his 8.9 mod pack just went live for those obviously playing 8.9. So check the video description for details about that if you like my mods. So what I'm going to do here, like I said before, I'm driving out immediately, just taking off straight from the gate. I'm not going to wait around for anybody. I'm just going to head to where I want to go. Now, for Redshire Encounter, I like to go up on this hill right here. It can be kind of dangerous for tanks that can't rely on armor because it's fairly easy to spot you here. That's one thing I'm not really worried about with the AT-2. Now, I am a little worried only because they do have an arty on their side, but generally, this tank, well, it's not really primary by arty. I do die a lot from arty, but it's not horribly bad. But you have to be able to notice when arty is gunning for you. So here you can already see some people are getting lit up here. And remember, as soon as you can, you need to get that gun on the enemy. That's the whole point to this tank. The only reason I'm continuing to move forward is because I don't have targets to shoot at. Now, you don't want to get too crazy and just drive behind enemy lines. You're just going to get lit up. You're going to die that way. Just get as close as you need to get to shoot people, as long as it's still safe. Okay, so just kind of get a little bit unlucky with that guy getting killed before I can get in there. So far, I only have one shot for 80 damage. The damage on this gun's not really bad either. It's not great, but it's not bad. Also, you can, take a couple blind shots if you need to like that. It's not going to really hurt too bad. So here's a T-34, generally a really good tank. It's going to hurt us pretty bad. He's giving me back armor, and I'm machine gunning him down. Again, a lot of this tank is about aiming and knowing where you need to have your gun when your shell's about to fire off. Because you don't get a lot of chance to fire the shell, or fire this gun. You need to fire it as soon as you can. That's why I'm even shooting this guy. Actually, you could see this guy. The silhouette's not lighting up for some reason. I think that's a bug in 8.8. So, boom, he's dead as well. So now it looks like we're getting capped here in Encounter. There's a bunch of guys in the cap. I'm going to move toward the cap. I probably should have noticed that a little bit before, but I didn't want to turn my back and start getting nailed. So it's always good to take guys. I mean, if you need to be somewhere because the game is going to be lost, don't just turn around and get shot in the back. I mean, don't do that. But it's like as soon as possible, turn around and start moving toward the location you need to be at. So there's a KV-1 that's technically at the side of me now, and actually there's the arty that's lit. I'm going to let the M4 handle that. I'm going to keep going for cap because these guys are in the cap, and that is the most, the biggest threat right now are the guys on cap, or the guys near cap even. The problem I'm going to have is I'm probably going to have to face off with this Churchill 3, so I'm thinking about how do I attack this guy. AT-2, almost dead. I would take him out if I could. I don't have a shot on him. Again, if those guys were not behind cover, my gun would be on an enemy, it's time to fire. And that's what we're trying to do here, is keep that damage on the enemy. So I'm trying to come down to this Churchill 3. No dice. I think there's a rock here or something too. Nope. Just a bunch of houses. So it looks like we reset the cap. And now we have a little bit more time, but it's still have to get in there and clear it out. Generally on Encounter, it's not... You can win very quickly by getting on cap, but you have to look at the enemies. If they're all coming up to the cap, you're not going to win that way. If they're all the way across the other side of the map, you can win. But just... And actually, this guy was lit up right here again. This is the 8.8, kind of screwing around with the replays. But you can win just by capping like that. Here's a Wolverine, no problem on the side for this gun. Great pen. Remember, you just have to get that gun. See how I'm doing it? I'm getting the gun where I think it's going to be when it's ready to fire. That way, when it's ready, I'm already aimed in on that location. So you kind of have to anticipate approximately where your gun's going to be when it's reloaded if the guy's moving like that. I generally don't try to track people with this gun. You can do that. It's a good idea. A lot of times just because I'm trying to get as much damage as I can before they hide. Once you shoot them, they're going to try to hide. It's not like other guns like the KV-1S. You know, they don't see you. You can get a shot off on them. It's 400 damage, and then you're reloading for 30 seconds or something. With this gun, you just got to start shooting and think of where do I need to hit him next, and you can keep hitting him. I generally, with this gun, there's not enough damage to track somebody in the first shot anyway, so it's not in my opinion, it's better to get the damage, but I'm sure that's more subjective than anything else. There, he's dead. He's dead. So at this point, I'm just going to get in the cap, get me some extra points, maybe get us the win. Looks like we have 2 people in the cap. Oh, 3 now. But it doesn't hurt to get in the cap, get you extra points and XP, so might as well do it. Our team's capping these guys out anyway. There are 2 tanks left, KV-1 and a PZ-38T, which I have not done a video on yet. So there's the 38 getting just roasted right there. You can see with this mod, it shows you the traverse angle of this gun. And boom! On the move shot. You got to be ready for that kind of stuff in this tank, because you just don't get a lot of opportunity to put damage out. And again, the hardest part about getting damage on this gun, on this tank, is because the gun just has low damage. You need lots of shots. Didn't pen the lower plate there. Pretty angled, just trying to get damage again. That's going to be the game, so let me show you another one. This is a pretty good game, kind of showing you how this tank works and exactly pretty much how to play it. So hold on a second. So here's the second game, and this is actually a Tier 6 game, so they'll show you a little bit of what it's like to be in a Tier 6 game. I mean, it's still not that bad. And again, I pretty much looked at where I wanted to be. Generally, shooting up to the hill in this tank is a great idea because, first of all, when people start getting pinged, like, you know, they peek over the side, they can't see anything. You're in the valley, or you're in the forest over here, and start dinging shots off of them. Even if you're not hitting, it scares the crap out of them because they don't know how big of a shot that was. They don't even know who's shooting, so they're going to back up. And that's the whole thing, is to keep them guessing when they're at the top of the hill. So that's what I like to do with this tank. You can also do pretty well shooting across basically the farmland here. Let me see, I can't. So if you look at the minimap, that's decent, but you're not guaranteed to have people there. But you're guaranteed to have people on that hill. So that's why I'm going there. Remember, you want to go where you know there's going to be guaranteed action. Because again, you can't at the last, halfway through the game decide you want to go that way, because it's going to take you 5 minutes to get across the map. So I'm going to fast forward this a tiny bit, just because it's pretty boring to watch me getting in position here. So getting into position here. Looks like there's somebody just, okay, he's dead. SU-85 decides to suicide. I don't know why. This is a decent game. I don't know why I'd do that. So here we go. We got a T-34. Oh, he's dead. We got an M4 and a 30. I think that's a M? 02M? Yeah, there we go. So got some good shots on his turret there. And that's what you're going to be able to do with this tank. It deals with Tier 5s very well. Tier 5s generally don't have a lot of armor, so that 110 pen is really good against it. It's when you're getting into Tier 6 and 7, definitely 7, you need to pick out weak spots. And the accuracy of this tank this gun is decent enough to hit weak spots, just not from extreme distances. Up here, I'm just trying to ping him. I'm not sure I can damage him. I don't think I can. I think that's the upgraded turret. So what do we got over here? A Churchill 3. I know I can shoot him in the turret right around the gun. Almost all the low tier British guns have that same weakness right around the gun. So definitely not afraid to shoot at that guy. This is the M4. No, this is the 02M again. So they got a pretty big push up the hill there. And a lot of times I'll see teams on this side just use the Magic Forest over here and wait for people to come down. Because generally they have pretty far to go before they can spot you, and you've got all the time in the world to shoot them at that point. So this is, what is that? Can't even see. Oh, he's dead anyway. M4. I had turned to kind of see what that was, but it was nothing. Because I didn't want that guy to spot us, is really what I didn't want. I didn't want anybody creeping into the base. So we got somebody over here. Let's see who this is. Oh, that's Churchill. Okay. Let's see what I do here. Let's speed it up a tiny bit, because this is kind of boring. I'm not really doing anything. But I'm just, like I said, I'm close enough to the action without getting too close, because if those guys come barreling down the hill, like we lose those 2 heavies, like if you look at these heavies up there, if we lose those guys will come railing down the hill, and if I'm too close, I'll just get surrounded immediately. So I'm not pushing up the hill. Plus, I'll be spotted if I get in front of these trees, so I'm just kind of sitting in the forest here. But you can get usually some good cross shots on these people that are like pushing up. Like this guy's being very aggressive. I'm coming out far enough to see why to figure out why I can't see this guy. Okay, he's behind a building. Maybe I can take out his cover. There he is. He's popped out now. Trying to shoot for the soft spot in the center. Oh, he's tracked perfect. Not a good shot. You got to get it right in the middle there. And he's dead. Who's this? Another M4. These M4s used to be a lot more beastly when the HE rounds were in crazy. I know people used to load heat as well. They're good still, but they just don't do as much damage as they used to. Now, the M4 has really, really bad armor. You can pretty much shoot it anywhere. It's generally not good to shoot it in the front on the bulbous part where the metal's actually bending down into the lower plate there. You want to shoot it in the upper top plate. Is kind of where you want to hit it. So, I get hit by Artie there. Again, the weakness of this tank. Let's pause the video and just look at where he hit me. He got both my tracks. I don't see where he hit me. Anyway, is it right in the front? No, that's where a bounce happened. Anyway, Artie is really the weakness of this tank. So, looks like the KV-1 just hit me just now. Probably in the cupola. But really, I couldn't get out of there in time. I really wanted to get out of the way of that Artie. So let's see, did I get hit in the cupola? I don't see a shot in the cupola. Oh well. So now I'm blind shotting this M4. He's one shot from death if you didn't notice. Just trying to kill him. Sorry, there's a lot of noise in the background. Again, it's very chaotic in my house. I'm kind of in the center of everything, so I try to record these videos when I get home from work, and a lot of times I get away with it before anybody gets home. A lot of times I don't. So it's generally good to try to get those shots on the cupola like that. And there you go. Boom! He's dead. Space Monkey is down. So I like to think of this as a mini Tier 9 T95. If you have ever played the T95, that's the Tier... I think it's Tier 9? No, Tier 10 American TD. This plays a lot like it. It has the extended tracks that stick way out. It's got lots of armor. It's really hard to pen from the front. The only thing is the guns plays a lot different. But other than that, this tank plays like a mini T95. So if you're going up the American line, this tank will show you kind of what that tank is like. Except that the T95 has ridiculous pen and damage, so this tank is guns not equivalent. It's still a great little tank. Now, here's the part where most of the guys that I can shoot at are dead, and since I was not pushing up because I really didn't have the good positioning to push up, there were guys on my sides that could shoot at me, so I waited to push. But now watch, let's fast forward it a little bit. I'm going to stay behind the action pretty much the whole time. So you can see these guys are obviously pushing up way ahead of me, getting all the shots, getting all the kills. I'm getting no damage on anybody. I'm kind of staying close to the edge, so if somebody spots somebody, I can pop over the side on the left there and hopefully take a couple pot shots. So the Artie gets lit, but no. He's dead before I even get a chance to do anything. Again, I'm way behind everybody, and that's why I say move out right when the game starts, because you're not going to be able to catch up. This tank just doesn't move very fast. So on there, I'm above 20 on the downhill. So let's get back to one-time speed. KV-1 in the Crusader. This is where... I don't know what happened with that shell. That should have hit him dead center in the middle there. Again, I'm not getting any dings. If you follow me on Twitter, you did see that I posted where Wargaming has said they're going to fix ghost shells. There are ghost shells happening in the game. They said it's very rare. But if they admitted it and it's happening, I don't necessarily agree that it's rare. Because for the longest time, they wouldn't even admit it's happening. For years, okay? I'm talking since the game even started. So that's where the Artie shell hit. Oh no, that's where the KV hit me, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to say how I got hit right there. But anyway, ghost shells are happening, and they want to fix it. They say that they're working on it. It should be... maybe it's going to be a 9.0. I don't really know. So anyway, that's the AT-2. Let me know what you think about this tank, and I'll see you guys next time.